Welcome everyone. Welcome to the public webinar organized by the Befrienders KL, supported by the Edge Kuala Lumpur Rat Race. We are streaming live on YouTube now. If you have any friends who would like to join us, please let them know. Our topic today will be on mindfulness, becoming your own therapist. Mindfulness means not thinking about anything. There's often the misconception that most of us have with the word mindfulness. So what is mindfulness about, and how can it be used to cope with daily stresses? Thank you for joining us for this 1-hour hands-on session conducted by clinical psychologist Evelyn Soong on how you too can be your own therapist in navigating with tough times and to achieve overall well-being. Evelyn is a clinical psychologist with a strong passion to serve underprivileged communities. With more than 10 years of experience providing clinical services within the context of public healthcare facilities, social welfares, and non-profit organizations, this has granted her the opportunity to work with individuals of diverse backgrounds and ages. Her therapeutic services are delivered through an array of holistic-based approaches and techniques. Moreover, Evelyn has also had ample experience in designing and conducting training and talks for corporate, community, as well as mental health service providers. She strongly believes in the motto of looking beyond the illness to facilitate clients' recovery. Let's put our hands together for Evelyn. Evelyn, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kartini, for your warm introduction. And welcome and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this Saturday afternoon. I hope everyone is staying safe and well right now, wherever you are tuning in from. My name is Evelyn, and I'll be the speaker for today. So as you can see from today's title of today's session, it's basically not just talking about mindfulness, but I would also like to, see how we can incorporate mindfulness, and you guys can be the best therapist for your own self as well, right? So there's going to be a lot of hands-on experiences and methods that we're going to use. So for the next 40 minutes of presentation, I hope everyone here can just give yourself a chance to equip yourself and to learn however much you can from today's session. Okay, I'm gonna share screen. So I do have some slides here. I'm gonna share screen. Right. So whenever we talk about mindfulness, right, as you can see from this picture here that I got it online, try to see, and as you're sitting down listening as we go through this session today, try to take this opportunity as well to reflect whether how often are you being mindful with one L, or mindful, whereby there's a lot of things going through your mind. And for the next 40 minutes as well, we're going to learn some techniques to see how we can be a little bit more mindful with the single L, and for you guys to be your own therapist. Now, just going to go through briefly on how the flow is going to be like for today. So the first part is, in order to become your own therapist, you need to first understand how your body works. So we're going to do a short, brief activity. The second part is understanding what mindfulness is actually about. There are a lot of common misconceptions about mindfulness. We're also going to go through briefly about some of the research. What does the research say about the benefits of mindfulness? The third part is where the strategy. This is where we're going to learn how we can adopt mindfulness on our daily routine. And lastly, if you have any questions at all, I would also address them at the end of today's session as well. So along the way, if you have any questions, feel free to type it on the chat box. And if I will be responding to each of every one of them at the end of the session. Now, let's start off with a brief activity, right? So whenever we talk about stress, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? So if you guys can, please feel free to type it in the chat box. When I mention the word stress, which we often use, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? So some of us may think about work, studies, studying, work and family, headaches, too many things coming in. MCO, that's a big one. Getting old, food, right. So far I'm hearing when we talk about stress, there are a couple of coping strategies, food, dessert, but most of the responses that I'm getting here is, things related to health, family, studies, work, aging, too many things to juggle, MCO, that's a big, big one, right? Now, even though there are so many different factors that we think about, and it can be very different from each and every one of us, but do you know that actually the way we breathe can also affect our stress level? Now, we're going to do this really simple exercise, okay? There's actually 3 parts to this. The first part is, so I'm going to explain, then only we will be doing it after I explain these 3 parts, all right? Now, the first part is what we're going to do later is I would need you guys to breathe in and out rapidly. And at the same time, you tense your shoulders. So try to make your shoulders like touch your ears. You clench your mouth, your jaw, and you hold your fingers, your hands tight. So we're going to hold on to this posture later, and you're going to breathe rapidly. So basically like this, just for 15 seconds. All right. And during that 15 seconds, I would like to invite you to observe how your body feels. And at the end of the 15 seconds, we would all do this together. And at the end, I would like to invite you to type whatever sensation that you're experiencing, that or you were experiencing earlier for the 15 seconds. Okay, so we will start. Try to squeeze your hands. Try to move your shoulders up to your ears. And we're going to breathe in rapidly for the next 15 seconds. 3, 2, 1, go. Breathe faster. Last 5. 3, 2, 1, stop. Now relax your shoulders, your hands, and do type whatever sensation that you were experiencing earlier. What did you experience just now? Tension, exhausted, pain, not comfortable, cold sweats. Right. Some more relaxed. Pressure, dizzy, want to vomit. Yeah. Blood rushing to your head. Right. Thank you so much, guys. So some felt discomfort, pain, difficult to breathe. Some felt okay. Now, what we did just now for 15 seconds, is basically whenever we are anxious, I will show you a video later, but whatever happened just now, you felt difficulty breathing, pain, is actually your stress response. So you try to imagine just by changing your breathing, you breathe rapidly for 15 seconds, that itself can already trigger a lot of discomfort that is happening in your body. Headache, want to vomit, just for 15 seconds. So try to imagine whenever you are stressed, right? Our body will tend to breathe in faster as well. And when that happens, just try to imagine for 15 seconds you're feeling that way. What happens if it's in the long run for days, weeks, months, or even years? That is why whenever I see my clients in therapy, I do hear a lot of complaints. They talk about headache, they talk about difficulty breathing, something pressing around their chest area, tension around their neck, their back, and the whole body just feels really uncomfortable. So why exactly is our body feeling this way? Why, whenever we breathe faster, our body would induce this kind of stress response? Now, I'm going to show you guys a video on what actually happens whenever we are feeling stressed.
Humans, like all species, have self-protective mechanisms to help us survive. Our fight, flight, or freeze survival response, the FFF for short, is designed to mobilize our brain and body to fight an enemy, run from an avalanche, or freeze to hide from a predator. Our brain sometimes misinterprets safe situations as dangerous and can set off false alarms. When the amygdala, our brain's watchdog, senses and barks danger, our body enters survival mode quicker than our rational mind can react, leaving it trying to figure out why we feel in mortal danger. When the FFF alarm is sounded, we start to breathe more quickly and shallow, causing hyperventilation, and our heart starts beating very fast. These changes can cause strong chest pain, which many people interpret as symptoms of a heart attack, when in fact it's just a result of the FFF activation, which can be relieved through breathing exercises. As a way of getting you ready for action, blood is diverted towards the major muscle groups. Blood flows away from our digestive system, causing the bladder to relax, and we might feel the need to pee. The mouth goes dry, nausea can occur, and we get the butterflies feeling in our stomach. Blood also rushes from extremities, leaving us with cold hands, but often sweaty palms as the action-ready body starts sweating to avoid overheating. Legs and hands can start trembling and feel weak, while tension starts building in big muscles like the thighs, neck, and shoulders. In our head, FFF alarms cause our brain to focus on negative memories, probably so it can scan them to avoid danger and negative outcomes. We get tunnel vision as our pupils dilate to increase our focus and long vision, but as a result, we lose our peripheral vision. FFF activation also reduces our ability to recognize differences in facial expressions. Too much oxygen and too little CO2 can result in dizziness or lightheadedness, which many people interpret as signs that they might faint. But because fainting is caused by a drastic drop in blood pressure, and because the FFF increases both our heart rate and blood pressure, it's nearly impossible to faint when this happens. Over time, depression, anxiety, and high levels of stress all harm the brain's ability to slow or cancel false FFF activations, causing them to happen more often. Knowing the symptoms of false activations makes it easier to recognize and reduce their effects. At Tanky Boxing, you can learn both bottom-up and top-down techniques to reduce false FFF activation and bring your body back to balance.
All right, so back to this. So what happened, right? Earlier on when we did this breathing exercise, we tried to induce, what we did was we actually tried to induce stress response in our body. And just for 15 seconds, you can actually feel the effect of it. Imagine in the long run, how your body would feel. So what actually happens, right? Now, the thing is, whenever we, like what the video showed earlier, our human, we are built to respond to threat or danger. And when that happens, this is when the fight, flight, and freeze response will take place. So just try to imagine, right? This is what I always explain to my clients. One day, if you see someone taking a knife or something chasing after you, you will either A, fight the person, B, run away from the person, which means flight, or the third one is freeze. You just freeze, you don't know what to do. Even though there are three different kind of responses happening, in our body, it is the same exact one response. this is where our self-protective and survival mechanism will kick in. Our body will interpret that there's danger. So there are two parts of our brain that will be activated. The first one is what we call as amygdala. The second is hippocampus. Now I'm going to explain. I know it sounds a bit of a jargon. So to make it easier, let's just name them Amy and Hippo. All right. So whenever there's danger, Amy will pick it up and it will sense that, okay, there's danger. We need to activate this self-protective mechanism. And at the same time, the location where Amy is located in our brain and Hippo is actually very near. So what happens is when Amy is activated, Hippo will get triggered as well. What Hippo does is it's like Hippo has this huge storage area for memories. And the role of Hippo is to find evidences to support that, okay, this is danger. So basically imagine Hippo is like a database. It's our memory storage area. So whenever this happens, our body will be triggered. We will have shallow breaths. We tend to breathe faster because we need more oxygen to run away, to fight. Our heart will start beating faster. Our hands, shoulders will start to tense as well. This is what will happen. Now, when there is no more danger, everything will return back to the normal state. Now, what happens is when we are stressed out, whether we are stressed out with studies or whatever that's going on at home with MCO, our body can't actually differentiate what is stress and what is actual danger. For our body, all these different stresses that is happening, it is a form of danger. And that's why our body will continuously, this survival mechanism, it's constantly alarmed and it's switched on. Our amygdala and hippocampus will misinterpret this as danger, even though it's stress. No one is actually, chasing after you or harming you. But because amygdala and hippocampus perceive that there's threat, that is how biologically your body will respond differently. What happens is, as what I mentioned earlier, you tend to breathe in quicker with shallow breath, just like if someone is trying to harm you. Your heart rate will increase, your blood pressure will increase as well. All the blood will normally flow to the major muscle groups, so your arms, your hands, your thighs, so that you can respond by running or fighting away. Your sensory become more sharper, whereby, whenever you're in danger, your senses will become sharper because it is a way for you to pick up threats. You tend to sweat more and you will have tremors. Why will people sweat more? Because when your fight, flight, and freeze, the FFF response is being activated, your body will kind of find its own way to cool down as well. It's just like computers. You will have fan, right? And for our body, the way of how we try to cool ourselves down is through sweating. And in the long run, imagine how your body would be feeling. Constantly palpitating, constantly sweating, and you don't know what's going on. But actually, the reason why is because Amy and Hippo, they are both working very hard to protect you from danger, even though they perceive it as danger, but actually it's stress. Psychologically, what will happen when FFF is activated? We tend to be hyper-focused and have tunnel vision because the aim for our body is to survive. So whatever that's happening around us, we may not be able to see it. We can feel really anxious and scared because we just want to save ourselves. We become hypersensitive, just like how our sensory becomes sharper. So sometimes you see when someone is so stressed out or too fearful, or even yourself experience it before, when you tap onto this person, the person will just jerk and feel, scared. Tend to have a lot of negative ruminative thoughts as well. And this would come from Hippo because again, Hippo is like this large database of your memories and past experiences. When Amy is so activated, people will tend to find out all these folders, right? Trying to support, okay, we need to protect ourselves this way, that way. And overly, hippo being activated, we can spiral into this cycle of having negative thoughts as well. In the long run, if this has been going on for weeks, months, or even years, biologically, it can actually be quite harmful for our body as well. It will actually increase risk for cardiovascular diseases, skin problems. I do notice some clients where they come in, if they're very stressed out, they have a lot of outbreaks, a lot of pimple, they have a lot of allergic reaction that doesn't seem to go away, even with medication, but it still comes back again and again. And this will also affect your reproductive system as well. So for couples, families who try to have, babies, family planning, this may be one of the concerns too. Psychologically, it can have a lot of different effects. It can affect us thinking very negatively all the time, rumination. Emotionally, we feel really stressed out, tense, scared, sadness. So just by hearing, what's going on in our body, what are your thoughts though? What are you hearing from whatever that we have talked about so far? As you can see, Amy and Hippo, they are both working really, really hard to protect you, right? But the thing is, Amy, Hippo, they are both coming from a good place. The intention is to protect you. But the thing is, whatever stresses that is happening around us may not necessarily be an immediate threat or danger to our well-being. So it becomes maladaptive to our well-being as well. So this is why mindfulness can help to sort of tone down the reaction from Amy and Hippo. How can we do that? Now, what exactly is mindfulness? Now, the definition here is quite lengthy, so I'm going to go through this with you guys and I'm going to break it down even more. Yeah. So, mindfulness is the awareness that rises from paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non judgmentally. That sounds quite a mouthful. Yeah. This is actually by Dr. John, and he's the founder for a mindfulness based stress reduction program. You can Google it online, even on YouTube. He has a couple of really good resource on how you can do and use mindfulness in your daily life. But today we're going to use this definition and to break it down even more. Normally, what we think mindfulness is, the first thing is meditation. Mindfulness means I don't need to think about anything. Your mind will be blank. Mindfulness is related to Buddhism. And mindfulness, you can only do it in a quiet place. When you're outside, you cannot do mindfulness. But that's not true. Mindfulness is not exactly meditation, while meditation is, so if I try to establish the differences between the both, right? Mindfulness is basically, let's say right now, you're sitting down on a chair or wherever your bed, on the floor. The moment you start to notice your back on the chair, your thighs on the chair or on the floor, that is an act of being mindful. Now, mindfulness is used very frequently in meditation. Meditation, on the other hand, is setting aside time, let's say 10 minutes in a day. I'm just going to sit there and be mindful of my bodily reaction. That is meditation. Mindfulness is actually a process of experiencing what your body, what are your thoughts, what are the sensations that you're going through. So a lot of times people think mindfulness is about not thinking about anything, but actually your brain would have a lot of thoughts coming in and out, and that is normal. Being mindful doesn't mean that you don't think about anything. In fact, being mindful is being aware that you're actually thinking about all these different thoughts. Again, mindfulness, a lot of times it's related to Buddhism. But then again, if you take a step back, it's really a teaching of being mindful of your body, of your thoughts, of your senses. And it can be done anywhere. It's what mindfulness actually is. It's about being fully present. Just like right now, as you're tuning in, as I'm talking, your mind can be wandering somewhere else and coming back again to listening to this session. And the fact that you pull yourself back to the present, that itself is already part of being mindful. It's about paying attention to yourself. We're going to do the activity later, the strategy, and you guys will have better understanding how it actually works. But basically, it's about paying attention to yourself. Whatever thoughts, emotions, reaction that you have, just imagine you watching all these emotions, taking a step back while listening to them. So try to imagine this analogy, right? I like to use with my clients. So try to imagine there's bad traffic in the highway, right? Everyone is rushing, the cars are honking, and you took on the role of stepping in, trying to stop the car from moving this direction and trying to ease the traffic from this side. You're trying to be the traffic police, right? And as you're in that place, you can feel really overwhelmed because people will be honking and asking you faster, I need to move. So try to imagine the role of a traffic police. It can be really stressful, right? Trying to manage so many things. That is not being mindful. So try to imagine mindfulness is you stepping aside, standing at the pavement, at the side of the road, just looking at the car crossing, honking. As you watch the car crossing, honking, people scolding, you're just watching them non-judgmentally. And that is being mindful. The cars can signify as your thoughts, your emotions. All these emotions and thoughts can be very overwhelming sometimes. But instead of stepping in and be the traffic police, what we're going to do later is try to take a step back and just watch these thoughts go by, these emotions going by. Now, I believe many of you have heard the benefit of mindfulness before. And according to research, mindfulness can actually help reduce amygdala's activation. Now, remember just now when we talk about amygdala, Amy, the role of Amy is to warn you about danger and to trigger this FFF response, right? So they actually did a scan here. So you look at the scan, there's this yellow dot in the middle. Yellow here means higher levels of activity. Red means, so from red here all the way to orange, all the way to yellow. Yellow signifies higher level of activity. Research have shown that people who goes through, say, 8 weeks of mindfulness kind of trainings or practice can actually reduce amygdala's activation. It can actually change your brain's reactivity and it can better cope with emotional regulation. So people will not feel as cranky or as anxious, frustrated, and all these things. It can also help improve concentration. So try to imagine as we are being mindful. Earlier on, when FFF is activated, we have tunnel vision and we can't focus whatever that is happening around us. And maybe that will actually affect our productivity at work and in school. And through mindfulness, when Amy is less activated, it can actually improve your level of concentration. It can decrease rumination, whereby you will not have this tunnel vision or thinking. In fact, you would have different perspective as you're looking at things. It can also improve communication. So try to imagine if you have a partner whose FFF is constantly activated and triggered, right? It can be really difficult to communicate with this person or to have a conversation because this person is constantly anxious. But the person, on the other hand, just doesn't know how to control all these emotions. And I believe many of us may have experienced it at some point in our lives. So, mindfulness itself can actually help us take a step back to reduce amygdala's activation. And over time, through practice, it can actually improve communication and relationship with your spouse, with your coworkers, your bosses as well. And most importantly, the fact that it can have cause changes to our brain activation. It can also lead to your body response differently. It can actually help in enhancing immunity for your body. Now, what we're going to do next is actually this exercise, which is the mindfulness activity. Now, I'd like to invite you guys to find a comfortable posture, a place to sit at. All right. Now, the strategy that we're going to adopt today, it's called STOP, STOP. STOP is actually an acronym for the following four words. I'm going to go through this with you. And at the end, we're going to do this practice session together. Now, STOP, the first one, S, basically means stop whatever that you're doing. Ask yourself, where are you right now? How is your body feeling right now? Okay, we're going to go through this exercise together later. But for now, I'm just going to explain what STOP means. The second part, T, means take deep breaths. You may stay here for a while. So this exercise that we're going to do later, it's called 3 minutes breathing space. So we're going to breathe and do this exercise together for 3 minutes. O means observe. Observe how your body feels. What are the sensations? What are the thoughts? What are the feelings? Just giving ourselves the permission to just take a step back for 3 minutes and observe how our body works. And P, at the end of the 3 minutes, you can proceed to whatever that you're doing earlier. Or if you like to just stop work and do something else, you can do that as well. Right? Now we're going to do this activity together. So like what I mentioned earlier, find a comfortable spot to sit at. If you're sitting on a chair, make sure that you have a place where you can lean back to support your back. Okay, I'll just give a few minutes for everyone to get ready. Just find a spot to sit. And if you would like to close your eyes, you can do that as well. And I want to invite you for the next 3 minutes. It's basically an opportunity for you to just give your body a breathing space, give yourself a breathing space. I know MCO has been quite hard on everyone. So for the next 3 minutes, just allow yourself, give yourself the permission to rest. Right? Now we'll begin by closing our eyes, or if you don't want to close your eyes, you can just look down, gazing down gently to a level that is most comfortable for you. And as you're doing that, I'd like to invite you to ask yourself, where are you right now? What is your body feeling? What are the thoughts that you're experiencing at this moment? How do you feel? Slowly, as you're going through all these different thinking, feeling, I'd like you to shift to how your body is experiencing at this moment. How does your thigh feel sitting on the chair? How does your back feel? Just stay there for a while. Slowly, I would like to invite you to gently focus on the muscles around your nose. Feel the fine air going in and out of your nose. As the air goes in to your nose, you can feel the fine air going in gently into your lungs, out from your lungs, out from your nose. Feel the fine air going in and out of your nose. Now, slowly, I would like to invite you to observe how your body feels as a whole as you're breathing in and out from your nose. You may try to expand this feeling to the rest of your body, starting from the top of your head. Feel all the muscles around your head. And as you're breathing in and out, you may try to relax all these muscles as well. Going down, noticing your face, your jaw. Feel the muscles, especially around your jaw. As you relax all these muscles, you may even feel your upper and your lower jaw getting further apart. Just let it relax. Going down to your neck, your arms, all the way down to your palm. Feel all these different parts of the muscles and relax. You may even feel your arms, your shoulders getting heavier. It's all right, just let them relax for now. Going down all the way to your thighs, to your toes. Slowly breathe in and out, and expanding your awareness to each part of your body. And if there's any part of your body that has this feeling of resistance, you may focus at that part and gently breathe in and out as you focus in softening this part that feels a sense of resistance. Coming to your body, feel how your body is feeling right now. And whenever you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes and do a stretch if you need. Welcome back. How was your experience like for this session as you're doing this mindfulness STOP? Relaxing, restful, more relaxed. Almost fall asleep, that's good. That's a bonus. Head feels lighter, nearly asleep too. After stretching, then awake already, like doing yoga, very light. Yeah. Now, the thing is about Amy and Hippo, like what we shared earlier, they are constantly working really hard to protect us from any harm, right? Whenever we are in face with a lot of different stresses at work, Hippo, Amy will constantly be there activated because we need to cope with our daily stresses and work, family, stuff like that. How often, if we ask ourselves, how often do we actually stop, STOP, and try to give ourselves this 3 minute or even 5 minute breathing space just by taking notice how our body feel at this juncture, at this point of time. And over time, we always believe that feeling anxious, feeling depressed is not something that just happened overnight like that, right? If we breathe rapidly, like what we did earlier, for 15 seconds, that can actually trigger this kind of reaction. And over time, because we train our body so well and our body is so cooperative in helping us cope with all these stresses, but we forget to slow things down, even just for a while. And normally, what I find really helpful for my clients and what they share is helpful for them is we can use this breathing space, right? If you don't have 3 minutes, if let's say right now, if you're working, then you walk to the washroom. Let's say it's just like a 10, 15 minutes, for 10 to 15 seconds kind of journey or a few steps. You can even take that opportunity to just focus on your breathing and where your body is at that moment. The moment when you reach the toilet, you don't want to do, that's fine, right? The moment when you come out from the toilet, walking to your desk again, you want to do for that 10 to 15 seconds, you can. As you sit down again on your desk, you can continue on with whatever that you're doing. So I find this intervention, incorporating this breathing technique of being mindful. It's not just breathing, but being mindful about your experience. It's extremely helpful, especially when we are bonked with so many different things in our lives. Right. Now, I'll end my sharing today with additional resources for you. So this is the website that a few of my business partner and I have developed recently, because we think that, a lot of times when clients, they come in to see us, until the moment we meet, until the next session, many things can happen, right? And we may meet them, let's say once a month, and once a month, many things can happen actually. So what we really wanted to do and build in this website is for individuals like yourself, even though you don't have anxiety, depression, you just want to learn more about yourself, you can do that too. You can learn other ways of managing your stress through this website. There are free personal assessment where you can do some personality testing to see how stressful you are right now, or if, let's say, you are concerned about the well-being of your child, for instance, we have free assessment, and at the end, there's free report for you as well. So you can check that out. There's share space where it's a forum. People can go in and read other experiences or difficulties that other people are experiencing. Mental health professionals will be there to respond to all these questions. But if you have any comments, feel free to drop them in as well. And finally, a lot of times we notice when people talk about the word seeing a psychologist, the first thing that comes to mind is there's something wrong with you, or you're going through something wrong with your brain, you're crazy and things like that. But that's not actually the case. Seeing a psychologist can actually mean as a means for self-development and growth as well. So if you have any questions to ask at all, if you like to ask any mental health or psychology related questions, you can ask them right now anonymously, and the psychologist, my team, will be there to respond to you within 24 hours. This is our website. You can use your phone to scan the QR, or you can type this psychologist.my on your browser. If you would like to ask any further questions, you can send in email to us or give us a call at 011 3676 2478. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope the session just now was helpful for you. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. I'll be happy to respond to them. Thank you.
So thank you, Evelyn. Evelyn's talked us through the psychological and physiological response in response to stress, the fight, flight, and freeze response, and the impact on the mind and body. She described how the self-protective and survival mechanisms can work against us, and how mindfulness can be used in meditation to experience what body and thoughts are going through. She also explained the benefits of mindfulness, which are to improve concentration, using the stop mechanism, So now I'll be going through with some of the questions which were put forward during registration.
All right.
Question number 1. I've always thought about others' feelings and neglected mine. How should I avoid this? It's killing me and sometimes leads to anxiety. As a people pleaser, how do I stop doing so much for others and focus on treating myself instead? I find it hard to say no to people.
Right. Thank you for your question. And I think this is something that a lot of us may struggle with, whenever we say no, it's almost like it is, rejecting other people. It's cold, it's mean. And I do hear and see a lot of my clients, right? Whenever it comes to communication, it's swaying between passive or aggressive, right? Passive meaning to say, whatever people want help from us, we are there to accommodate, we are there to give in, and even to the point where it's overstep our boundary, we tend to be okay with that. But actually, it's like what you shared here. It's really painful. It can be really tiring. Or we sway to another way of aggressiveness where we would scold the person and we just, like some of my clients say, lantak lah, I don't want to do anything, right? That would happen as well. So what can you actually do with this? Now, it's interesting you mentioned that you often thought about other people's feelings, right? Now, the first question that perhaps I would invite you to ask yourself is, whenever you please other people, what does it do for you? How has this been helpful for you? So does it give you a sense of, people find you dependable, or does it give you some sense of satisfaction, even though the process is painful? What does pleasing others mean to you? Now, secondly, is whenever we please other people, I do hear some of my clients may say that, whenever I help people, I see them feeling okay, I feel better also. Right? I feel comfortable being able to help other people. This is how we are coming from the position where we try to make other people feel good about themselves. Now, the second question that I would like to pose to you is, as you are trying so hard to shape this relationship with other people by pleasing them, doing things for them out of your goodwill and intention, what is the kind of relationship would you like to have with yourself? As much as you are responsible for other people's well-being, for their emotions, their thoughts, how can you be responsible towards your own thoughts and emotion? What kind of relationship you want to have with yourself? Do you want to have a more at peace kind of relationship, be okay with it? If that's the reason that you want to start taking care of yourself, you want to learn how to gently say no. again, no, a lot of times people will feel rejected, right? It's a cold way of doing it. I would like to introduce you to this technique that is called the sandwich technique. This technique is something that a lot in corporate trainings, in negotiation skills that people often use. But actually, I believe this can be used across, even in relationships. So try to imagine sandwich. It's like two bread and got meat or whatever in between, like burger lah or sandwich, right? Bread, meat, and bread. So how this sandwich technique work is this. The first layer here is basically to acknowledge whatever difficulties that this person is going through. The second, the meat, is the way of gently rejecting, declining, by phrasing it in a nice way. I'll give you an example, right? But the meat is the main thing that you would like to express. The last part here would be like the conclusion to summarize the whole thing. So, for example, if let's say I have a friend who constantly, whatever work, he or she would throw it over to me. And I find it really difficult to say no because I know I can do it, but I am just so overwhelmed with work. So, how can I use the sandwich technique? The first one is I would say to this person, oh, wow, there's a lot of things going on your plate right now. You must be feeling really overwhelmed. So, this part here is basically to empathize whatever this person is going through, right? You must be feeling really overwhelmed, taking in so many things. As much as I would like to help you, I'm feeling really stressed out as well at this point. But I believe when things are more settled, I'll be able to assist you, perhaps just not at this point of time. So, this is the sandwich method, whereby you would first empathize with this person, because a lot of times if we outright reject the person maybe will feel like rejected or don't feel good. So we try the first layer by empathizing with this person first, and then go into the main meat about, actually, as much as you would like to help, but there's a lot of things on your plate as well. Conclusion, rest assured that in the future, you would be there to help however you can when things are more free up. So in that way, it can actually, feel more gentle of in a way of approaching or saying no to this person. And at the same time, taking care of yourself too, because you matter. Do you guys still have any questions? Please feel free to type them in the group chat.
Okay. So far there are no questions in the group chat yet. So we'll go on to the next question given during registration. Is there any quick method to cope with daily stresses? For example, if I'm in a workplace, what should I do in order to cope with the stresses?
Mhm.
What is the easiest way to do self-care as an SPM candidate or any kind of student facing big exams?
Right. This is an interesting question. So, whenever, again, going back to the biological, the FFF response, right? Amy and Hippo, basically, they are there to help you cope with all these stresses, but sometimes it can be too overwhelming. So, if there is a quick method, I would say the breathing space that we did earlier, just allowing yourself a couple of minutes to just calm Amy and calm Hippo, that would be a way to go. But again, self care, as we talk about self care, right? It is something that needs to be practiced over time and consistently. So it's just like going to the gym, right? I go Monday and I expect to have muscles built. That wouldn't be able to happen. So self care, just like going to the gym, you need to practice over time. Same goes for mindfulness as well. As much as your body is working really, really hard to cope with all these daily stresses, allowing it just for a couple of minutes is not too much to ask. I would say that would be the fastest or the easiest way to cope. But then again, one thing that I do quite a bit with my clients is, whenever we are engaged in so many different activities from day to night, when are the times that we actually say thank you to ourselves? When was the last time you say thank you to yourself, your body, for cooperating, working so hard for you? Just take a moment and think about it, and think about a phrase where or something that you like to do to appreciate your body as a whole. I think that would be a really meaningful method for self-care.
Okay, thank you. So it's breathing, self-care, and appreciate body. So we'll go on to the next question. I'm a college student. It was fine at the beginning of MCO, but slowly I'm losing interest in all of my hobbies. I thought I am the only one, but then I found out some people around me are just like me.
Right.
I blame myself for not being productive. How do I get motivation and also to motivate people around me? It feels like I'm dwelling in a black hole with no light. I can't see a thing.
Thank you so much for your question. And I'm glad that you notice you're picking all these things up as you're going through the motion as well. MCO has been quite hard for many people. I like to think this way, right? So, usually when in school or at work, there's a place, uni that you go to, or a workplace that you go to, right? And as you try to check out, it's where you leave uni, you leave your work area. But with the whole MCO, it feels like you're constantly stuck in uni, constantly stuck in the office. And as we're feeling stuck, we are also trying to push ourselves to achieve um, the targets or the goals like how we used to before, but it doesn't work that way. Studies are actually coming out right now that people working from home, there's this thing called burnout, right? I believe many of you have heard of it before, burnout. Many of us think that working from home should be easier, should be able to manage stress better, but actually it's not that case because, again, work and life, there's a blur between that already. So, again, coming back to motivation, there's two things that perhaps I could suggest for you to explore. The first one is, now that we are stuck at home for almost a year now with MCO, CMCO, and things like that. Try to reflect back. How were you back then during the start at the MCO? How are you right now? Where are you right now at the end of the MCO? At the same time, try to reflect what are the things that you have actually accomplished. What have you learned during this 1 year? I must admit that even for myself, even as a therapist, a psychologist, I do feel that life became like meaningless, robotic. It's like every day checking in, seeing clients on Zoom, then checking out, then it's at home cooking and eating and things like that. But as we go on, if we dwell into that thought process, it can really make us feel really trapped, right? So instead of that, we try to widen our perspective, our thinking by doing some basic reflection, thinking about how was it before the lockdown, before MCO? How was it after and during? What are the things that I've actually accomplished and learned about myself or even other people? There is this thing called, to your question about motivating other people. I'm not sure if you have heard of this Pomodoro technique, right? So basically, if you Google it up, it's like a 20-minute burst of focus and concentration followed by 5 minutes of rest. And I've done this with a couple of peers of mine whenever, it comes to rushing some paperwork and you just feel like you're dreading, you feel alone, you don't feel like doing it. So try to just schedule in Zoom session with your friends, your peers, and try to set like a timer for 20 minutes. Everyone would just do their whatever paperwork that they're doing for 20 minutes. Once the alarm rings, then everyone would stop, take a 5 minutes of break together. This kind of connection can actually make us feel more motivated, and this sense of loneliness would be lesser. So try to give that a go and see if it works for you.
Okay, very helpful. How to get over with the burnout during working from home, and also try to distinguish the blur between working life and also private life in personal on a personal basis. So exploring what we did within the past year, and to reflect what had happened 1 year before and what's happening now, and also taking on adopting the Pomodoro technique. So we'll go to the next question. Is it possible that mindfulness could increase our self esteem? Does a 5 minute meditation or being blank really help to calm anxiety? Can mindfulness be used for individuals with suicidal ideation? Is there advice for people who experience distress when they notice increased awareness of their body and sensations? For example, such as the pain or the urge to die by suicide?
Hmm, great question. So perhaps I'll answer the second one first. 5 minutes meditation or being blank really help to calm anxiety. So as what we shared about earlier, right? Being mindful is not about being blank per se. There will be thoughts, there will be emotions that comes in and out. There may be this sense of frustration, scare, worry, whatever that you're going through. You may feel that, but the thing about being mindful is recognizing these emotions, acknowledging it, and at the same time, not to react to all these emotions. A lot of times people think that sadness, feeling sad, right? I shouldn't feel sad, is not a good emotion. But I do believe whatever experiences that you're going through, it's a way of our body trying to send message to us and trying to, tell us something. It's just like Amy and Hippo. They warn us through all these feelings of tension of our body, through this anxiety. And whenever we feel this kind of discomfort, it is very tempting for us to push all these feelings away by whether trying to escape, trying to avoid. And sometimes when these emotions becomes too overwhelming, thoughts of suicide or attempts can happen. Now the thing about, again, mindfulness can help, yes, can help calm anxiety. It can be used for individuals with suicidal ideation because being mindful, again, is about recognizing and being aware of your bodily sensation, of your thoughts, of your emotions. A lot of times when I do mindfulness in session with my clients, we would try to even dissect it even further by trying to notice what are the warning signs. Because a lot of times we may feel that, whenever this happens, immediately we think that we want an escape, we want to self-harm. That can happen. But before these behaviors, before these thoughts take place, what's actually going through? What are actually the warning signs? Would your body feel more tense in certain parts? Some of my clients would say that before that happened, I noticed my chest just feels extremely heavier, or my hands would squeeze harder. My jaws would actually tense up even more. So with mindfulness, it's again recognizing what are the warning signs, right? And as those thoughts come by, how did all these thoughts develop over time? What are all these memories reminding you of? The thing about many clients with anxiety and depression is when Amy is activated, Hippo will try to find all the evidences to support all this negative experience, right? So they will find all these negative thoughts. This is how it will be formed. So all these events that has happened in the past. So try to imagine when we do mindfulness therapy with client in session is where we will ask the client to dissect all these experiences. What does it mean for them? But at the same time, trying to take a step back, just looking all these events as events that has happened in the past. But moving forward, how can we better respond or react to it? So I would say simple answer to your question is mindfulness can help with anxiety, can help with individuals with suicidal ideation and to increase self-esteem. But the first part that's the most important is to be aware when would all these feelings emerge? What are the warning signs? And I would strongly recommend if you're going through this tough time, do speak to someone like a therapist who can actually guide you through this process. So, therapy wise, normally it can take, according to research, 6 to 8 sessions. That's the basic standard number of sessions. But some people will take lesser than that, some would require more sessions than that. But I would strongly recommend once you are aware about all these different thoughts, emotions, and bodily sensation, you can also talk to a therapist about what you're going through and to see if there's other better ways to cope with it.
Okay, thank you, Evelyn. So we're down to our last question,
Sure.
which is what to do when the brain starts to give negative thoughts and it's overwhelming. How to avoid negative thinking or overthinking a situation until the person feels nervous about it.
Right.
How to tell people about my overthinking and anxiety because they will think, what's wrong with you? And how to tell them what they have to do if I'm in a panic attack. I'm afraid that they are afraid to approach me.
All right. This is a great question. So, what to do when the brain starts giving negative thoughts and it's overwhelming, and how do you stop or to avoid that? Now, looking back or thinking back about the earlier slides, right? Why do we have this overwhelming kind of reaction? That's basically our body, Hippo and Amy, trying to again protect you. So when you mentioned, and a lot of my clients do say that I want to stop feeling all these intense emotions, right? To stop that, it's almost like telling Amy and Hippo, okay, you don't need to protect me anymore. I can handle it myself. But actually, that can actually make us feel even more vulnerable, right? So one of the ways that when these thoughts are getting more and more overwhelming, what I would recommend, even for my clients, is for them to have a journal, or they can even type it in their phone. Whenever these thoughts come by, try to keep a record of it, because over time as you start recording, then you will start to notice there would be some themes that emerge in the situation. So for example, I used to see this client where she feels really anxious whenever it comes to public speaking, whenever it comes to presentation or performance based stuff, right? So as we are trying to break it down, as she record, do a thought record, then we notice all this kind of anxiety would derive whenever it involves certain authority figures. So it's not blanket to, where she will feel anxious with everyone, but only with authority figures. So that's where we try to dissect in what about authority figures that she feels anxious, and then we move on from there. So for yourself, if let's say there are a lot of overwhelming thoughts, I would recommend for you to keep a thought record and try to see if there are some themes that emerges from this exercise. This will also allow you to better understand yourself. So taking it as an opportunity for self-understanding and self-growth as well. Whenever we are feeling anxious, a lot of times we may even freeze, right? We don't know what to do. One of the ways where if you have frequent panic attacks or meltdowns, I would also recommend for you to have a plan. So plan by saying, before a meltdown happens. So meltdown normally happens like that, right? Your anxiety will pile up and then you will have a meltdown. Before you have the meltdown, what happened here? What are some of the warning signs? Try to identify that. And in the event, if you have a meltdown, what are some of the things that you wish people around you could do for you? a lot of times when other people, they see us having a meltdown, they may not know how to react. They may say things like, don't think too much, or it's okay, things will be over, and things like that. And it may not be the most helpful thing to say, especially when you're going through such difficult times. So, what are some of the helpful responses that you wish other people could say to you or do together with you? Have a plan and share this plan with someone who you trust, or someone who, sometimes would reach out to you, even though you're not close with this person, but someone who sometimes would reach out to you, and you can even share this plan with that particular person who you trust. Whenever that incident happened, talk to this person, and then this person would know how to react. So again, planning on what you can do and what other people can do as well.
Okay, thank you, Evelyn, for this wonderful session. I think that's the last question that we have. It's already almost 3:15, and we would like to thank you for giving us a talk on being mindful and how we should recognize, acknowledge, and be aware of all our thoughts and emotions, as this would actually help us in handling our stressful situations. We've also answered a few questions. Just to remind everyone that our next public talk will be in April, and that the Befrienders Kuala Lumpur is a not-for-profit organization. It's a non-governmental organization that is run by volunteers. We would be very, very helpful. It would be very, very helpful if you could donate to us. There's tax exemption for donations 50 ringgit and above. So as you can see over here, we've actually flashed our account details for all those who are interested to give donation. And I'd like to ask everyone to give a round of applause to Evelyn as well. Thank you so much for giving us this session on mindfulness.
Thank you for having me. I hope you guys can take this with you and be mindful for the rest of your evening.
All right. Thank you very much, Evelyn.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Evelyn, and good day, everyone.
Stay safe.
Stay safe, everyone. Bye.